A lot on the line for the Patriots in this game this week for a Super Bowl that they are not even close to. They're in a different universe.
They're on the other end of the league.
A different galaxy than the one that this one is being played in. Mm-hmm. They have legacy on the line. Tom Brady has things on the line.
Tom Brady's calling the game.
Brady is calling the game.
This is crazy.
I wonder if you put him under the truth serum, he's rooting for the Eagles in this game.
Oh, I would be.
He should be.
Sure.
Yeah. He should be rooting for the Eagles.
That's human nature, don't you? Like,
yeah. As a competitor, don't you want no one to touch you? You don't want Patrick Mahomes being in your conversation.
Yeah.
But Bert, if he wins 3 in a row, I don't know how this is avoided.
No. I mean, that's 4 before he turns 30. I think Brady was, now I'd have to do it in my head, but I think Brady reached his 5th Super Bowl when he was 34. Mahomes is already at 5. Right, because 11 was the 11th season.
Wait, he was only 34
when he went to his 5th.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I thought when he won his 5th.
No, when he went to his 5th, he was 34.
Yeah.
And then when he won his 4th, he was 37. Mahomes is already in his 5th. He's 29, and he could win his 4th. Which, again, like his style of play does raise some questions. I mean, he's had a lot of lower leg injuries, all of that, and obviously what Brady did is, I mean, it'd be really hard to expect that of anybody to play as long as he did. But, I mean, Mahomes is in that category now. I mean, Mahomes has got the right to be discussed with the greatest winners in the history of sport, with Montana, with Bradshaw, with Brady. Like, he is in that category now.
I remember his first year, and we called that game against the Chiefs, and we were in Atlanta doing the Super Bowl. And he was being brought through by his handler. He had like a sport coat on, and it was just like him and another guy, and there wasn't no crowd around him. He came right by our table, and I stopped him, and I talked to him, and I said, hey, I call the games for the Patriots. I said, you're going to be fun to watch for so many more years to come. I said, you're going to be special. And he's, thank you, appreciate that. You know, you can't walk through here now. You can't walk through here.
Well, that was sort of
without a montage.
I did a story with him this summer on, like, his superpower, though, is that he can – and this Brady had this too, and I think this is a huge thing. Is like he can be a regular guy.
Oh yeah.
Like when you see him, like when you see like you turn on like the match, right? Like he looks so at home with like on a golf cart with a case of Coors Light.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he is
breaking balls with Charles Barkley.
He does have an ability. He still has an ability, and I think Brady like probably lost that late in his career. But for the longest time, Brady was able to still pull off the "Hey, I'm Tom" thing.
Yeah.
And Pat has the exact same thing.
Not the Russell Wilson. I have my own office on like the second floor or whatever it is in Denver.
My goal is to be iconic. That's what he said that to me once, which was like,
my goal is to be iconic.
I was taken aback a little by that quote. I was like, whoa.
Hey, so he brings up legacies for the Patriots and how important the direction of this team and organization where it's in. You were in Mobile last week. Do they realize it? Does Vrabel and the staff and Elliott and everybody who's got their hands in this thing realize the importance of this offseason and how critical this is?
Yeah, of course they do. I mean, I think it's I think that the thing they realize is they've got a lot of resources and there's a lot of things that they've got to figure out. They got to learn each other. You know, for one thing, the coaches are coming from different places. We've been over that. You know, Josh doesn't have background coaching with Vrabel. Josh doesn't have background coaching with Thomas Brown. Thomas Brown doesn't have background coaching with Vrabel. So, Todd Downing's coming in with Vrabel, but he doesn't have background with the other guys. And then the front office, obviously, we've talked about that ad nauseum, about Elliott and Ryan and how those guys fit together, and then the guys below them, how those guys fit into it. They got a lot of stuff to figure out, and I think that's one reason why it was good that they were there in Mobile together, is because I think doing stuff like that together helps you learn each other. So I would say, like, yes, it's a big offseason, Zoe, but they're so far away from this. Like, they just got to figure out how they can put a team on the field that is learning how to win. So, and that's, I mean, they're still a lot of steps away from being on a stage like that.
So I'd say like here, like it's just to be even relevant again. Like I don't expect them to be here.
Well, no, just being like be in the mix, and I mean one thing that's easy to forget, like with Mahomes, like the Chiefs were already good before Mahomes got there.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like the Ravens were already good before Lamar got there. The Bills made the playoffs the year before Josh Allen was drafted. So these
Steelers
guys
are always good.
Yeah, I mean it's so like how do you reestablish that around Drake May? It's a question. It's a challenge. It's something like Cincinnati had to do with Joe Burrow. or they hadn't won in a while. So, like, they had to come back and say, okay, like, we've got to build it around this young guy. He's got to be the catalyst. That's sort of the challenge with Drake.
So we had Ross Tucker on earlier, and he said that in a pre-production meeting earlier this season, Gerard Mayo said that their approach in free agency might not be going towards those top-tier free agents, but building out sort of the middle of the roster. Do you have a sense or a feel for how they're going to kind of attack the free agent market?
I think you have to, because the free agent market's not great. And I think that's a byproduct of, you have a couple names, but like most of it is like pretty middle class, and it's a byproduct of the fact that there's so much cap space across the league that for the most part, if a team wants to keep a player, they're keeping the player, you know? So you see guys at non-premium positions. You see guards make it to the market. You might see like an off-ball linebacker make it to the market, but generally, you aren't going to see premium guys at premium positions make it to the market, which is why there's so much demand when a Brandon Ayuk hits the trade market, when a Myles Garrett, when there's even talk of him being traded, like Andrew Berry in Cleveland, his phone's going to be ringing off the hook because it's so rare to have an opportunity to get a guy like that you didn't draft and develop yourself. So I think that they have to look at all of it. But I think in free agency, you know, if you want to use the example of Washington, just look at what Washington did, and there were no big swings there. There wasn't a single big swing there. It was Dorrance Armstrong and Dante Fowler and Bobby Wagner on the very back end of his career, and Tyler Biotish to play center for them. It was all of these guys that are sort of down the line guys. What's interesting is, and this is where I think you could probably dig up some names, is almost every one of those guys had background with the coaching staff.
Yeah.
There's someone on the coaching staff that knew him. Like Cliff was in Arizona with Zach Ertz. Biotish and Fowler and Armstrong were with Dan Quinn in Dallas.
Yeah.
Wagner knew Quinn from Seattle. Austin Eckler was with Anthony Lynn in Los Angeles. So there are so many examples of guys that, this guy's not going to be like a all-pro, but we know exactly what we're getting. And it'll be interesting to see if they pull on those connections in Cleveland and Tennessee. You know, Thomas Brown coming over. He was in Chicago, Carolina, and Los Angeles the last couple of years, you know. So are there some guys out there that you have background with? Josh with the Raiders, the guy's not going to single-handedly turn your franchise around, but you know exactly what you're getting. He's going to make your team better.
I mean, realistically, you've got to get out of the basement. That's basically what it is.
Yeah.
So are they not going to be in on like a Tee Higgins then?
I just don't know why Tee Higgins would come here. I don't. I mean,
I don't expect them to get him. I don't.
No.
Does he fit?
Well, I mean, here's the thing.
You're just going to get a $35 million receiver. And does he work there?
They offered Ayuk a better deal than Pittsburgh did. They offered Ayuk a better deal than Cleveland did. If I remember right, again, I don't have it in front of me. I know we talked about this before, but
he didn't want to go though.
I think it was $32 million per on a 4-year deal, and $30. He had a choice, or $30 million per year on a 3-year deal, and he would rather go to Pittsburgh, where the number was something like 20. It was a tick less than T.J. Watt, because they wanted to keep him under T.J. Watt. Right. So it was like something like 27.8 or something like that. So
that's $5 million.
When you start to get up into that neighborhood, like guys are gonna, you have to way overspend to convince a guy not to I'm going to take a little bit less and go contend. Like Buffalo's got some flexibility cap wise now. If they go and make a competitive offer for Tee Higgins, why wouldn't he go there?
Okay, but that doesn't mean the Patriots should not approach it.
No, it doesn't.
Go after it.
It doesn't.
And just because if Brandon Ayuk apparently wouldn't even call them back.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean they were wrong.
No, I applaud. I thought
you've got the right approach.
I thought that was, too. You would think
you're going for it. You've got to go for it, and so.
I mean, that's the thing is you don't know when those opportunities. I mean, if you guys knew the story of Stephon Diggs going to Buffalo, that was like it was a tweet, and Buffalo's GM seeing Stephon Diggs tweeting something cryptic and calling the Vikings GM.
Really?
And by the end of the day, he was traded. And it was it's stuff like that, where you have to
go. You
have to stay loose, and then that's why I loved the run at Ayuk, because I think Ayuk's got the ability to be a true number one, and you don't know when those opportunities are going to come, right? You don't know when the opportunity is going to come to trade for a guy, so you have to stay loose and be ready when they do come, when those opportunities do come along.
So my approach would be, we're going to force him. Fine, he doesn't want to come here. Watch this. We're going to make him turn down an absurd amount of money.
Yeah.
And we're going to do it.
Yeah.
And we're going to try. And the other part is not having fear of getting embarrassed when the player tells you no.
Right.
Because this team has a real issue with players when they don't want to come here. And last year, they don't offer Calvin Ridley the most money, but it was about his wife or his girlfriend. They couldn't even bring themselves to just say, if they weren't going to admit that they didn't offer the most, which was $1 million less per year. If you're not going to talk about the money, and can I just finish this thought?
Yep.
And you're going to talk about the player not wanting it. They couldn't even just say, you know what, he doesn't want to play for us. It had to be about his wife, right? He called her the girlfriend, but it's his wife. Yeah, it had to be about his wife. It couldn't be about the player himself not wanting to play here. It's about the wife. They couldn't just admit what the story was if they felt he didn't want to play here. So they've got some fear of the embarrassment of being turned down by a player for football reasons.
Yep.
They can't have that fear. They got to live without that.
I think there's something else they need to get over, too.
What's that?
This fixation with winning the deal. This fixation with being smarter than everybody else. And I think that totally exists with them. And I don't think that was just a Bill thing. I think that's a Kraft thing, too, where it's like, we need to make sure that we're not going to do bad business. It's bad business to overpay for this. It's bad business to overpay for that. And I'm telling you, like a lot of these owners, because their background is as businessmen, they're almost more competitive about being profitable and being smart than they are about winning games. And like for a lot of owners, they got to get over that. They got to get over the idea, like, look, we got to pay a tax here because we're not very good right now.
And these guys like to compete with each other about, my organization is
they don't laugh at the loser. They laugh at the team that they see as stupid.
Right.
Yeah. No, you're stupid. No, it's not you're losing. It's okay to lose as long as you're not stupid. If you're stupid, that's the...
I'm guessing there are owners that look at Jeffrey Lurie and say, what an idiot. Look at the money he's spending on this team.
Sure.
Right? And if he loses on Sunday, what a moron he is.
He's paying over $9 million for his coordinators this year.
It's big dough.
Yeah.
But and this is why I texted you last week.
And what's the cash out on the roster? What's the cash on that roster this year?
Dude, they have...
It's the highest ever, right?
I mean, it's every year they spend cash over cap, which is like...
Boston Celtics,
works.
let's go.
Jeffrey Lurie owning the Celtics would be amazing.
But that's why
he wouldn't trade Luka.
No.
I mean, and I've talked to them about that because you can do the math. If you look at it, it's like, oh my God, there's this cliff coming in like 27 or something like that, where all of these numbers they have, if you look at their cap, it's like unbelievable. Like everyone has like a $15 million cap. All these guys who are making 20 and 25 have like $15 million cap numbers. Yeah. And eventually that's going to slam, they're going to slam into that, right?
My prediction? They won't.
No, but here's what
just like Tampa did, right?
But here's the difference.
LA, remember LA?
Tampa.
No, but what happens with the smart teams is they do take their medicine, but they draft so well that you don't know it. So they'll take $80 million of dead money in a single year. I'll pull this up in the break.
Yeah.
It's something like 4 of the top 10 teams in dead money made the playoffs this year.
Just don't draft Javon Baker and you're fine.
How does that happen?
The Bills had something like $60 million in dead money last year. The year before this, the Rams set a record for dead money and made the playoffs. It was the year they offloaded Ramsey, and they wound up with something like $75 million in dead money. So over a third of their roster, or over a third of their cap, was accounted for by players who were not on the roster, and they still made the playoffs.
In cap jail and in the playoffs. That's where they were.
But that's because you draft
well.
Right.
Yeah.
But you have to draft
I understand.
well. Yeah.
You've got to have some talent left on that roster that's at a lower price.
I got the list up for you if you want it.
We definitely want to get to that. This hour of coverage on Radio Row brought to you by Shaw's and Star Market. Bert has a list of dead money for NFL teams this year on their salary cap. What do you got?
This is the Green Mile. All the teams that are in cap jail.
Cap jail.
Yeah. This is the salary cap Green Mile here. Okay.
We had Ryan Leaf here earlier talking about when he was in prison. These are the teams that are in NFL salary cap prison.
So the Broncos are number 1, $85 million. Broncos were in the playoffs. Giants are number 2, $79.57 million.
Well, they suck.
Vikings are number 3.
Wow, okay.
$69.83 million. They were a 13-win team in the playoffs. The Bills were number 4, $68.47 million. They were in the AFC Championship game, so 3 of the top 4. Then you got the Panthers at 5. They sucked. Then you got the Packers at 6, $65.53 million. So now you're at 4 of the top 6. Titans, worst team in the league, were number 7. And then the Eagles were number 8 with $61.95 million in dead money. So that is 5 of the top 8 teams in dead money made the playoffs. And what that tells you is if you're a well-run organization that drafts and develops well and is willing to continuously spend, then there are ways through.
Yep.
You know, and that's what these teams have consistently found. Now, part of the issue is, and you know, I know this will be music to the afternoon guys' ears, is that like a lot of it is spending money. A lot of it is like we got to write a check now we got to give a guy a signing bonus up front. You know what I mean? So it creates a cap flow situation or a cash flow situation where you're giving a guy more money up front.
Right.
You're getting that cash to the guy sooner to alleviate the cap penalties long term. And it's good for the player to do that because obviously it's best for him. It's best for him to get the money in his pocket faster. And it can create cash flow issues for the owner.
Hey, if you like that clip, check out more videos from Zolak and Bertrand right here. For more Patriots analysis and opinion, hit this playlist. And for all the latest from the Sports Hub, download the app at 985thesportshub.com.